Okay, so I'd like to share with you the conceptual framework we developed for library engagement. And this came out of a very long brainstorm. We're looking at what is the goal or the intention of our outreach program. What did we really hope to accomplish? And what kind of came out of those discussions was the idea that what we're really trying to do is build an ongoing relationship with our users, an ongoing relationship with patrons, and that framework happened along several steps. And you can kind of see the steps here, or the ladder here, that begins really with sort of visibility. Visibility, which leads to sort of awareness, and awareness is much more of the sort of the self-realization, I guess you could say, of a particular service or particular product, a particular element of the library relates to them in some manner, and it sort of clicks. And then that leads along to usage, which hopefully results in a certain proficiency leading to success, feelings of success. And then upwards to the top two, which much more, these become much more sort of subjective and kind of vague, but it deals with this idea of appreciation. That once they really realize how the library functions and how it's organized and how it helps them, that they start to have this concept of appreciation for what we're trying to do, and that ultimately leads to what we felt was that the top goal was pride, feeling proud of their library, proud of themselves for how they're able to use it, and sort of this sense of accomplishment. So that's the basic framework that we came up with, and what we wanted to do then was really look at how do we apply that, and so we looked at some other models, Maslow's and Bloom's, to see how do things basically start with sort of basic functions, basic needs, and move up. So how do you start with really kind of simple things and then get to this high level of like creating something new, or this sort of esteem and self-actualization and self-realization. And so those models were really insightful for us and helpful for us, and ended up in creating something like this, which we call library patron levels of engagement. Now, this isn't really a progressive model, meaning that you might not start with study space, how we're defining it, but rather collections, and that's okay. But what we're really trying to look at is with a lot of the interviews that we did and observations and other data that we collected, what we came up with was this idea, this framework, this concept, that it really starts with space. You know, we're labeling it here as study space, but the first thing that patrons, particularly undergrads, tend to get familiar with as they're ascending these different levels is the simple layout of the website or the layout of the building. And, you know, where are things located, how do things work, what's this, what's that, and movement through it. So it really kind of takes the idea of sort of the study space, which is meaning it plays a particular role in how they're trying to be productive, but it's really the identity and comfort with what the library has to offer. Now that leads to the next level, which we kind of labeled as technology. This is the hardware and software that we make available. It's the wireless. It's just the everything that we provide. Sometimes that technology might be a table, I mean, in furniture and how things work in that capacity too. So it's really starts out with space and comfort with that, moves on to technology, comfort and familiarity with that, and then it moves to collections. Now this kind of starts out, we find, typically in a very simple manner, where they're looking for a particular article, they might be looking for reserves, they might be looking for a book on a topic, maybe it's for a class, maybe it's of personal general interest, but whatever the case is, that there's this period of learning how the collections work, how the website groups the databases, how different databases function, how the Library of Congress system works, how to find books and use books in that capacity. So it's this gradual climb of how the space works, how the technology works, how the collections work. And the next one is really assistance. And this is really kind of broad in that sense too, where assistance could be getting help via chat or via email, one-on-one, sitting down with a librarian and digging deeply into a particular topic or particular paper, getting help with a paper jam or stapler jam or something like that. It's the whole totality of the library providing help for whatever help they need. So these four, what we kind of considered the the sort of basic products, the basic sort of layers or levels that patrons are ascending. You learn how the space works. You learn how to use the things that are in this space, meaning technology and collections, and you learn how to interact with the people or certain services that are available to you. And that arrives at that higher level, and this is what we talked about on the first slide, where we talked about appreciation and pride, and we're calling this one sort of advocacy and partnership. And advocacy, the way we're framing it, is sort of positive word of mouth. A student becomes, or faculty or anyone, again, becomes familiar with the library, how it runs, how it operates, and then tells other people, or even helps other people, becomes a mentor, a peer mentor in that capacity, where they're helping someone else or informing them of different services or tools that are available to them. In this manner, they're sort of friends of the library and providing a certain endorsement for us. And then that leads to the top, which we considered partnership. For us, that means something where they're kind of taking a particular ownership of the library and helping to improve it. Now, that could be through our outreach program, it could be through our assessment program, it could be in any capacity, but they're realizing that the library really is their own channel, their own kind of instrument to not only use, but to improve, and there's certain legacy issues that form there. And so our goal, what we kind of see, the way we frame it, with our outreach program is to sort of advance patrons from being users of the library into a higher form of relationship. And relationship, again, is that sort of key word. We're not just sort of marketing to them, but we're kind of trying to build this step-by-step, this sort of proficiencies and comfort with this goal of getting them to be advocates and partners of the library. And so the particular strategy that we used was to create these different blocks, social, cultural, creative, scholarly, and service. It's public service, community service, in different ways. And try to fill our patrons' memory banks with positive associations at the library and what it stands for. This is a way to really kind of make a statement about the library, rather than just sort of being an instructional focus or even a sort of entertainment focus. It's much broader and deeper than that. So each quarter, though, we offer a different series of thematic library-branded encounters. Now, these encounters can happen within the library, they can happen around campus, or even in the community. It's the idea that the library is sort of more than just a study hall or a computer lab or even a sort of warehouse of books or a sort of website of online journals, that it's something more. There's sort of that life of the mind, or this totality of the library. And so what we've kind of found is we try to use these blocks as a way to streamline our outreach approach. And what we found is that many of our initiatives become patron-driven. Sometimes this patron is a student. Sometimes it's a faculty, staff, or community member. Doesn't matter. But what we're doing is we're giving them a platform and sort of encouraging them to take ownership of the program, and that they view the library as a fulfilling college experience. And this is both two ways. It's one for the person who's leading it, the student or patron who's sort of the program owner, if you will, is sort of getting a certain fulfillment out of offering these different experiences. And the same thing happens for the people who attend. Someone who goes to a lecture or participates in an online art exhibit or something like that, that they too are receiving something beneficial out of this as well. So it kind of leads to the library becoming sort of bigger than just a sort of an instruction or teaching and learning sort of initiative, but something much more. Teaching and learning fall into that. I mean, that's kind of what we call scholarly, but we really want to encourage people to think much broadly about what outreach is and the goal. And so, again, this is just the sort of concept we've come up with. It's still a work in progress, but it allows us to kind of think differently, and also gives us a much more streamlined way to engage more people, library staff and librarians, as well as our campus, to kind of take ownership of the program and participate. And that's, again, what we really kind of saw was how do we engage people, not so much them coming to something that we're developing, but how do they kind of take ownership and develop something themselves. And again, it comes back to this stairway, this pathway, if you will, of the relationship, where we try to make things visible, try to make them aware, we try to get them to use, we try to get them to feel successful, and then it ultimately ends up at sort of appreciation and pride. So thanks for listening.